Hi there, and welcome to a new series in Dungeon Crawl. I'm Icon, and tonight I felt like my next project after the crashed and burned Naga on the last series would be a typical blaster caster. Something that just casts spells as a primary damage source, and yeah, I didn't do that before on any of my series, so I felt like that's something I want to do a bit of explaining how to play these characters, how to build up macros and stuff like that. And beforehand, I was thinking about which race I want to play, and my decision fell down to the human because with a human, I can focus on the gameplay primarily and don't have to talk too much about the race. So for this run, I felt like I want to do the Fire Elementalist. Eventually, I'll run through the other options you have. Each one of them is well playable, I'd say. Apart from the Conjurer, which feels a bit lackluster since the Battle Sphere got removed from the starting spellbook. Anyways, we're gonna go for a human Fire Elementalist for this run. Let's go. Let's go for a blasting caster run. And here we are. As a human, you don't have any bonuses, no special stuff. You're just the average Joe. Your aptitudes are also all pretty average. There's a -1 on spellcasting because human are more mundane than everybody else. A bit more invocations bonus because humans are better at praying to gods, and a little bonus in stealth, but that's it. Apart from that, everything's 0. This is actually a good thing and a bad thing at once, because these aptitudes mean I can opt into anything without getting bumped by any bad aptitudes or something like that. That's actually good. The bad thing is I have no special aptitudes, so there's no real lucky drop for me, which would be like, wow, I have +3 on fire magic. No, not for me. So for the starters now, we have these skills on our leveling list. I agree with that. I really like to start like that, but I disagree a bit with the dodging. I want to have fighting instead, at least to bring it up to level 3. That's the plan, to get some more HP. So as a fire elementalist, you start out with the Book of Flames, and this contains a lot of useful tools to solve like most of your everyday needs with your casting stuff. You have a bit of utility with the Conjure Flame and the Inner Flame. You have a lot of destructive tools at your disposal. But I don't want to run through all of these. You start out with a Flame Tongue. Flame Tongue is a very short-ranged spell, which deals a decent amount of damage. And to start out how to play casters, I strongly recommend you to go for macros. Without macros, this type of character is just horribly tedious and in no ways as much fun to play as any other guy. So to put up a macro, you need this little thingy, the tilde key. Show it here down here, and when you press it, you get into this menu, and you only need the first point. You want to create a macro, and now the game asks you how which key you need to press to trigger the macro. For me, I like to pick up the numbers 1 to 4, so we're gonna go for 1. There's an old macro already here, so we clear that first. And my spell here is lying on the letter A. Macros work this way. They just do a certain amount of key inputs for you. So we're gonna say the game we want to press Z for cast a spell. Then we tell the game we want to press A for Flame Tongue, and then the dot is to actually confirm that we want to fire at something. That's pretty important, because if you leave this like that, the game will prompt you every time which target you want to hit. Sometimes you want to have that. Actually, there are a few spells on which I would prefer it like that, but for the Flame Tongue, we just want to have it firing straight away every time we press the 1 key. So that's it. That's a macro. You can define these like you want. And if I go to on the button 1 again, it shows me what's lying on this button, and there I can redefine clear or boarded. It's pretty easy, and it really makes the life of a spellcaster so much easier. And while it's not really necessary for other characters, like melee fighters or something like that, they can live without macros pretty well. But for spellcasters, really, it's so much more fun to play like that. Alright, enough of the mechanics. Now we're going into the dungeon. As a level 1 spellcaster, your life is pain. Chances are I'm gonna blow up myself on the first few levels because I don't have a weapon. I only have 3 magic points, and I have 10% failure chance on this spell. If my odds get really unlucky, I can actually fail 3 times in a row. And then I'm out of mana, out of weapons. And I only have 13 HP, wearing a lousy robe. And I'm pretty unable to kill stuff without spells right now. So strategy here is you have to take every step as a spellcaster super careful. Every single enemy in the game can be your doom, and if you don't mind dying, you can just go forward, do it quick. I mean, you don't lose much if you die here, right? But for me, I play like I want to win every game I start. It's just a thing of mine. So there's a first red. These are not too dangerous at all, but I want to walk back here to avoid making noise around this area, because I don't know what's out there. There could be a whole jackal pack, and this would be very dangerous. So I'm going back here, kiting the rat, and starting to cast Flame Tongue. First one did miss, second one did hit. So we did that. Good job. There's a goblin. Let's look at this little guy. He has 4 damage plus his club. I'm not too sure how much damage a club can do. I think it was 5 or 6. So 2 swings of this little dude can be enough to kill us, actually. It's pretty scary. So we do the same thing as before. We go back there and roast the goblin. I mean, this would have worked if I stood here and just did the same thing without kiting it that far back, but you die less. You die less if you take it the safe way like that. That's all I want to say. So we're on 44% to our next level. That's actually really good. Once you hit level 2, your life as a spellcaster becomes a lot more safer because you earn a few more magic points, a few more hit points, and this makes everything so much better. So there's a bat. And there's the scenario. 2 of these spells failed. I'm closing this door because bats can't open doors, and regen up my mana. I don't think this bat would actually have killed me just like that. I'm gonna try to hit it a few times with my fists, actually kill it. But yeah, again, I didn't know if something out of this room could walk towards me. My first ring. That's cool. Somewhat. I have 2 scrolls, but I'm too scared to read them. This could be teleportation, and if I get randomly teleported into a bunch of jackals, I'm pretty much dead meat, so we don't want to have that happen. Oh, that's actually really scary already. So they have normal weapons, but they're pretty much 100% impending doom. So I dance around this a bit. This starting layout is really generous because you have all these pillars you can dance around indefinitely. So, alright. That's pretty good. We're on level 2 now, and I can learn Throw Flame, which is really cool to have, because Throw Flame has a lot more range than the Flame Tongue. Oh, I found a short sword, equipped it, turned out to be -2. As a spellcaster, I don't mind wearing wielding a cursed weapon because I don't rely on my weapon. That's it. I don't rely on my weapon. If it's a good weapon, if it's a nice weapon, you can take a few swings from time to time and do more damage than just with the fists. But for now, I'll gotta wait for the first remove curse scroll, that's all. So, since I learned this new spell, I'm gonna put up a macro for this one too. So I'll put it in the letter 2. Z for spellcasting, B for the next spell, dot for please fire at the first enemy in sight. So now I have these spells ready on easy buttons, which is actually something I really prefer. So this hobgoblin, I can throw some fire at him, which didn't do too much to him, sadly. And I fumbled a bit. I ran into this bat a bit blindly. So overall, I feel like Throw Flame is not at the point where I want to use it regularly with these few spell points. I would only use it if I have the feeling that something really dangerous is at me. I want to kill it ASAP. Alright, so I found a ring and a scroll. And there's some leather armor too. I actually want to pick that up. The thing with the leather armor is, let's see. Oh gosh, it's cursed. That's the thing with the leather armor. I want to try out these scrolls now. It's teleport, but after I explored a bit of this floor, my chances of getting busted immediately got a bit smaller. And why I rushed these scrolls was I really hoped for a remove curse scroll in my pocket here, because this leather armor really is a joke. A bad one too. So it's arguable if you want to put on armor randomly, just like I did here. This can backfire pretty horribly, just as you've noticed, but right now it's okay. I won't die due to that. A few stones, why not? A few more dart slugs, but I have the ammunition to kill them by now. So this armor is actually not too dangerous for me because I don't want to let people get too close to me anyways. So nothing has changed too much, apart from the fact that ranged enemies became more of a threat right now. That's all that happened. Alright, so our first skill point, I actually always want to take intelligence if I'm a pure spellcaster, because it makes your life so much better. And there's Conjure Flame. Perfect. So this is one of the best spells in the Fire Elementalist spellbook, because it provides a ton of utility, actually. Oh, this one has a sling, so I get closer to fire tongue him a bit. So the problem here with a human right now is I'm so average that my spell pool is also pretty average. That's why I can't cast too many spells, which sucks. It's one of the problems of being a human. You're average. You don't excel at anything. And if you want to have a really good life as a spellcaster, there are easier races to play. I would strongly recommend Spriggans, actually, for spellcasters if you're into a kiting based playstyle, or if that's not your kind of thing. What's the next best deal? There are deep elves. I don't like deep elves too much, actually, because they're so damn frail. They have excellent spellcasting aptitudes, but I feel like they're pretty hard to play because they have really not much HP. And while the Spriggan, they also have not much HP, that's for sure, but they have this insane speed, they have a natural high evasion rate, and a lot of other goodies which the Deep Elf doesn't have. They are basically just blessed with an insane mana pool and insane aptitudes, and getting punished by a lot less hit points. I don't like that too much. Ouch. That's this leather armor. It makes stuff a lot harder for me to endure. And yeah, well, my first call for a spellcaster would be absolutely a Spriggan, because you have to play careful anyways if you're a blaster caster. Speaking about being careful, so Dungeon 1, I walked through this quite leisurely and explaining a bit, but here I really need to be focused because this is the place where I can meet my first unique enemies, and I'm in a very bad spot to fight unique enemies right now. So I want to try out more of these scrolls I mean, and luckily I found a remove curse scroll and I can finally remove this leather armor. And I also have, not a spare one, no, that was not the double, but I have ID. That's really good. So I want to ID a few of these potions. Potions are always my first priority for identifications, because they add options into your toolbox, immediate, powerful options. Whereas these rings here, they're, well, more situational in general, if it's a resistance ring, and most of them are resistance rings. So potions are immediate power-ups, and I feel like it's the safest way to use your first ID scrolls on potions. Preferably doubles or triples, because the chances of being curing or heal wounds is pretty high if you find them more than once, because they are the most common potions down there. One of the most common potions, that is. Alright, so I have already teleportation and magic mapping ruled out, so I can use these scrolls without standing on the staircase. Alright, so we're getting somewhere. My spellcasting is pretty okay, and I want to bring up these spells to a more reliable level, because I feel like this is getting forward too slowly, so I start putting focus into conjurations and fire magic, and let the basic skills, fighting and spellcasting, trickle through slowly. And this is very bad positioning for an enemy like a Dart Slug, but luckily we have ranged attacks. And luckily these 3 attacks were enough to kill it off. I was a bit concerned, because this was a really... this thing could have taken quite a few shots at me before I could reach it to melee it down. And oh, it's a bunch of guys here. And the chances of taking a lot of damage from this one Dart Slug were pretty high here. But luckily I managed to kill it off. I'm not concerned because Dart Slugs actually have quite high HP. And are not always that easy to kill off if your mana pool is that little here. But everything went fine. I'm happy. I'm still a bit cautious here, because unique enemies are really dangerous, as are adders. Alright, I found a buckler, which I'm really happy about, but for the adder, here's the conjure flame thing. I put down this conjure flame here, and the adder doesn't want to walk through this at all. And behind this adder is also this huge jackal pack, which is also pretty dangerous for me. But look at this. Jackals are faster than me. This means I can't really run from them. But with Conjure Flame, you can put down this flame and they can't chase you through that, because they would instantly die. They would go through that fire. So that's one good use of this spell. I will explain the other good uses along the way. So, I don't know if I can actually try to melee one of 2 of them down. What are my options? I mean, I have a Berserk Rage potion in my pocket, so let's do it like that. I want to put up the buckler, because having a shield changes my failure rate a bit, but it also adds some shield rating, which completely negates a complete attack, which is really strong. So, well, let's try it without resources first. I feel like Berserk Rage could be an overkill in this situation. Yeah, I'm right. Can I actually? Yeah, I can tab it. We're not that weak anymore. XL4, that's okay. But I keep being very cautious with spellcasters and melee, because you can screw yourself up really hard while when you're leisurely attacking stuff, especially with a -2 short sword. So again, I dropped down this Pillar of Flame. I take this adder very seriously because I have no curing potions on me and the poisoning can kill me off. But I have 2 potions of Ambrosia, which could save me here. So with the fire down, I feel really safe. And I can Flame Tongue it to death without risking any attacks of the snake. So I feel like I want to drop fighting and bring up shields, because the good thing about bucklers is you only need a skill of 4 to remove their penalty, and this is pretty quickly achieved. Another adder. So again, putting down the flame, and I failed it once, but oh well, this didn't work out too well. Still not enough mana to pull it off properly. So what are we gonna do? I want to wait for 1 more mana, but nope, that didn't work out. So let's take 1 or 2 swings. The Ambrosia potions in my pocket make me feel a bit safer about this, but there goes the first poisoning. We're not gonna fiddle around with this adder. Let's berserk into this. Yes, this feels like overkill, but I want to be safe and better safe than sorry. And berserk potions are, for me, not as valuable as for actually melee kind of characters, because, well, it's a tool of last resort here. Let's call it like that. So there goes. There goes the next adder. There are so many adders on this Dungeon 2 floor. I'm already on XL5 almost, which is quite high for Dungeon 2. It's because of all those adders. They give quite a lot of XP. That's still the only good thing here. But with Conjure Flame, you are pretty safe without any good resources, as I have demonstrated here. And Conjure Flame is a spell which keeps interesting, well, for a pretty long time. Down in Lair, it can work a charm too. And right here, well, I don't know how it would have survived that many adders that easily without Conjure Flame, to be quite honest. Alright, so we're getting here. I want to have a look at my spells here. My failure chances are pretty high still, so I can learn Inner Flame. That's nothing I want to rush into. That's mainly because with a mana pool as low as mine, I can't use this spell too good right now overall. So we had a Blink Scroll. Always feels a bit bad to waste my first Blink Scroll like that. And we have a new ID scroll, so let's keep IDing those potions. That's curing. That's nice. Still waiting for another remove curse. While we're talking about it. Awesome. So, we have jewelry in our pockets. That's a Ring of Ice. That's actually really useless for me. Wow, -3. I'm at -1 AC with this thingy. Alright, do we have anything else to wear? No. Nothing to test, nothing to try on. So we're gonna remove this Ring of Protection. This Ring of Anti-Protection. We don't need that. That's an Ancient Armor Scroll. I'm gonna put it on the buckler, because I want to swap out the robe pretty as soon as I find another leather armor, but so far we only found this -2 thingy. It's not too amazing, so Control F brings up this useful info box if you didn't know that, and this is quite a good tool to find stuff. A new thing I learned recently was with the dot here, you can see everything the floor contains, which is also pretty useful to see, to know. And there are a lot of good options with this search menu. Can only recommend you to use this tool to have a good orientation here in this game. We found a longsword. Ain't that nice? I'm really happy to have a longsword in my pocket. So it's +0. Again, I tried it out even without having a remove curse scroll because, well, even a -2 longsword would be better than a -2 short sword. So, whoops, teleport. All right. So I noticed this adder. This is a really ooh. Okay, teleport traps in the early game are always something you need to get very, very cautious with. So I don't want to walk this way, because the problem here with this area is there's no good spot to contain the adder with only one spell of Conjure Flame. Not the area where I want to fight right now. I want to fight at positions like these. That's optimal. So... Longblade is also a very good thing because of the passive riposte. Being mainly evasion based right now, this gives me some free attacks at the cost of nothing. That's what I really like about Longblades. But with the Conjure Flame, I would absolutely prefer any good pole arm I can get right now. Did this guy just regenerate? Yes, he regenerated. I was wondering if he was drinking a potion. I'm curious about that. Sometimes they do that. So again, this game keeps spamming me with adders. I'm out of mana, so I'm gonna wait a bit. I'm gonna risk it. Oh, riposte did the job. Awesome. So another good thing about humans compared to other spellcasters is the base HP. I have more base HP, like compared with other good spellcaster races, at the cost of this puny magic pool here, which is really annoying because I can't kite like a Spriggan or a Centaur or any quick race. So this is really pretty dangerous. But that's why humans are pretty good fire elementalists in my opinion, because Conjure Flame provides a good amount of safety. So we're getting some punishment here in this beautiful little underground forest. I like this little tile set in here. Alright. Shields up to 1. Very nice. And there's my first orc war party. So the chances are that they have some wizard or priest with them. So let's take this back a few steps. Alright. I want to drop down a flame here, which doesn't succeed. So in this case, I want to go back farther, because maybe the or priest or wizard hasn't noticed me yet, so my chances of not attracting them in this kind of scenario are pretty good. So we want to stay safe here. That's one thing about spellcasters. You really need to play super careful all the time, especially in the early game. Later on, when you get some HP, you have some tolerance for brain dead moves, but well, not as much as a Minotaur or something more beefy like that. So judging from the looks of it, we only had these regular orcs here, but D3 is the place where you can meet your first orc priests quite regularly actually, and I always like to keep an eye out on this. So worms, well, you can kite them indefinitely with pretty much any species. Alright. One thing that's concerning me a bit is the fact that I didn't run into any too dangerous uniques yet. It always makes me wonder when the first really dangerous thing shows up, because so far this game only threw quite a lot of Naga in my face. So there's Kiku and Vampire Bat. And we hit level 6. Wonderful. And I learned Sticky Flame. That's another beautiful power tool. Look at that. We have fountains of blood once we touch this altar. I love this game for these little, sweet little details. But it invited me to follow the ways of necromancy, but I don't want to do necromancy for this game. Not this time, Kiku, but maybe next time. I actually feel like I want to also do a necromancer video. What? It berserked. He drank a potion. Speaking of potions, keep an eye out for enemies drinking potions. Things can get pretty interesting with potions. Alright, so there is a MacLab altar ahead. And also a very interesting option, especially if you're aiming for an extended run. MacLab is a very good option for spellcasters because of the healing out of the destruction you do. This makes you a lot more resilient to dangerous situations. And here's another good trick with the Conjure Flame. It's smite based aiming. You can cast this across the head of this little Mr. Goblin here and cut off the adder. And that's pretty useful because I want to avoid these guys as much as possible. Every poisonous enemy is pretty dangerous if you have quite like no AC. I don't like this. If poisonous critters get in my face with only 2 AC. It's something you need to respect. And I might sit on 2 potions of curing, but how many adders did this game already throw at me? Let's have a look. It's question mark and this other button, I don't know what's it called in English. So we killed 7 adders already on D3. That's quite a lot. 7 is more than 2 potions of curing. So the key combo for this screen was like that. Just if you're interested how to look at your dump in-game. So that's D3 done. Awesome. So for spellcasters, if you're done with this part, you're actually through with the most dangerous part, in my humble opinion. So there's a worker, and these are pretty dangerous again, but Conjure Flame does the trick, keeps them away from you. It's almost dead. It's a bit cocky of me here, but I feel like this last blow it was worth the risk. The safer play would have been to dance upstairs and regenerate your mana and then take the fight again with full mana, but oh well, sometimes I'm a bit lazy. I don't think I'm able to kill off this ant with this amount of mana though. So you can use the Conjure Flame spell also for escapes like these. Also very, very useful. So that's why I call this one of the best spells in this book, because yeah, it saves you so many teleportation scrolls, blink scrolls, etc. It's an option. And throwing nets are also pretty good, especially against spellcasters. Oh, hello there. So I don't like this guy at all. I don't want to fight him right now. Mainly because Sticky Flame is super far away from being castable. All these summons he can produce would be way more than I could tackle, so I wanna step away from Eustacio. Think about how I could beat this situation later. I mean, I have no mana, no wands. I mean, I have no wands I could use at him. Wow. I shouldn't have taken this step ahead. But, well, this is actually doable. But the problem is Mankore standing behind this dude here. Oh, I don't know if this is blockable by line of sight. Oh, and this guy is having a sweet weapon of draining, so I'm not gonna mess around here. Let's blow up the Scroll of Fear and teleportation. Yes, he can do that above his head. So I'm gonna drop down this flame here and get teleported right next to Eustachio. Yeah, well, there has to be some action in every episode, I'd say. So I could just straight out berserk into Eustachio, but that would not be a smart play. So I'm standing next to the temple here. And there's a scarf. The thing about Eustachio is he can blink. That's super annoying. That's why berserking into Eustachio is not a safe option. But luckily he didn't follow me up to this staircase, so I can enter the temple and strategize into this. So, about gods. In general speaking, for spellcasters, there are two optimal gods, which are Vehumit and Sifmuna. I don't want to go Vehumit because I'm really short in mana, and Sifmuna, the reworked Sifmuna provides a lot of mana management options I really want to have. Sifmuna is also very good for extended runs, in my opinion, better than Vehumit, because having access to virtually all spells in the game through the god gifts is a very, very powerful tool, especially if you want to do an extended run, because when you want to do extended you really need a lot of options, especially as a spellcaster. So I found this leather armor and I didn't want to try it out before I had this remove curse scroll. Luckily it's +0, but I was a bit anxious after the last one, which let me down pretty hard. See Invisible is also very, very nice to have. Alright, so I have a bit more AC right now, but overall my chances of fighting these guys on this floor are pretty slim. I don't feel too comfortable on this floor at all. So yeah, there we are already. Bam. Surrounded and swarmed, so I'd really like to have this scarf, but that's not gonna happen, I fear. So the thing I want to try out is I want to fear away Eustachio and go downstairs, because the summoned monsters can't follow me and I'm waiting out their despawn timer, and now I just hope to get away from this place, but sadly he didn't wander off in another direction. Berserking is not an option. I have a lot of different potions I don't know. Also have ID. I could ID one stack. That's heal wounds. Useful for sure, but not the life-saving option here. So what I'm gonna do here is just pretend D4 didn't happen for now, because this is really a lot of trouble, and I want to have a bit more reliable safety tools before I tackle this challenge. So I want to wrap this episode here up, because I feel like this was quite an entertaining ride so far, and I want to take a break before I go further into the dungeon. We have our god decision made. We have Sifmuna for our god. we have our first few spells at a reasonable level. I'm drained right now. Well, that's also making some difference, but overall, I feel like the pain of the first few levels of a spellcaster are done, and with the next episode we can grab up the second half of the worst part of your spellcaster life. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you're enjoying your time. I certainly like this human fire elementalist pretty much already. I hope he survives a bit longer, and yeah, hope you're gonna tune in again and enjoy your time. Until then, see you guys soon. Bye bye.